All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Dark Horse Racing Area 51 series tonight here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and we're hopping on board with my partner in crime in our GWC TV IndyCar, Steve Gottschalk. So, Steve, I know we got some time as you beat up on that cone there. Take us through what we're going to be expecting to see here tonight at Las Vegas.
Okay, I think this is going to be like a good old-fashioned stock cars at Talladega race, because you can run flat out in 6th gear all the way around this track. You can pick any line you want, and this isn't going to be one of those deals where the outside line can't keep up with the inside line. So it's going to be hard to pass, because you're going to get stuck behind a couple cars that are running side by side, lap after lap, like what happened to me in practice. And the only way you can possibly get by is if one of them finally passes the other, or you force a 3 wide. So I think we're going to see a lot of pack racing in this, and maybe some accidents from people getting impatient.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I say with pack racing, you're going to get that aggression. You're going to get some of that craziness. So yeah, it's definitely going to be. There's going to be a lot of things to kind of keep an eye out for this evening. And so, like you said, I think it's going to be definitely a wild one. And so something we talked to some of the drivers before the race, and say the fuel window. I think that's going to be the big one here, Steve. Tonight, sounds like fuel window is going to be roughly in the 35 or so lap range, and with it being a 110 lap race. If we stay green, that won't be enough. You'll have to make a third stop. So a lot of drivers looking at running that fuel number, trying to make sure that they can get into that 2-stop window. So we might see a little bit of strategy as well on the fuel saving, maybe some drafting, of course, the fuel mapping. And I said, I think if there's a track that you can save fuel, this is definitely going to be one of those. So I think that's going to be another intriguing part, just to kind of add to some of the strategy calls that we'll be seeing tonight.
So I ran a 24.913 on my second lap there, which would have qualified pretty well, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, we were able to give a little bit of grief to one of the racers, one of our regulars, Matt Wagner, giving him a hard time that you had him topped in practice there. So I say I think it's one of those things where if you weren't stuck in the booth with me here, I think you'd be giving these guys a really good run for their money here tonight. But so I have a feeling once it gets a little bit crazy and we see, like I said, that some of that pack racing going on, I say at least on my side of things, I think I'd be pretty content with being in the booth instead of being a part of this craziness that we're about to see here tonight.
Well, there's a part of me that would be tempted. It would be an extreme amount of fun to run this race with these guys and see what I could do, because I know I definitely wouldn't have any trouble keeping up, but I just don't have the confidence that I need in the way the steering behaves in these cars for me to get in there and really mix it up with people and force a 3 wide and stuff like that. For whatever reason, maybe I just need more non-linearity on center with my steering wheel, because I mean, you hardly have to touch the wheel on the front straight to get the car to turn. And it's a weird feeling, because if you turn it as much as you think you should, you're going to end up on the apron, which isn't as deadly here as some of the other tracks we've been at, but you still don't want to go there in the race.
Yeah, exactly right. And with that, looks like qualifying has completed though, Steve. So we're going to pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. All right, so pole position tonight going to go to Nick DeGroot in that number 89 machine. So we've kind of been referring to Nick as Mr. Photo Finish there, saying 4,000ths of a second between himself and Craig Forsyth for that top spot. 2,000ths of a second between Craig and Bud Steele there in third. You got Jack Walls fourth, Charles Teed in fifth. You got David Payton, Alec Coates, Michael Spell, James Ludford, Todd Merkel rounding out our top 10. And then 11th and 12th, you got Charles Johnson, Jeff Heisong. So keep working down the way. Then you got Matt Wagner, Gary Corley, Anders Arhus, And then drivers that opted not to qualify tonight, Steve, we have a bunch of them tonight, maybe thinking the same thing we saw with that pack racing that we talked about. Joseph Morello's, Mike Rigney, David Leclair, Eric Schaus, Yari Brupacher, Jim Brooks, Kurt Rose will be those drivers opting to start from the pits. So yeah, so it looks like we'll have about 22 starters, if I'm not mistaken, taking part tonight. So yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how this one's going to go. Definitely a lot's going to be able to, a lot potential for what's going to happen tonight. But it's going to be Nick DeGroot that's going to lead the field off to green here tonight with that 27 of Craig Forsyth to his outside.
Yep, and we definitely have some fast guys that are starting at the back, so it's going to be interesting to see how they do it, avoiding accidents and working their way forwards.
Yeah, exactly right. So I think it's going to be that balance of aggression versus kind of patience, and just to see how it's all going to manage. But say one of the drivers that I talked to during practice was that number 5 of Charles Teed had a great run last week. I know he's expecting and hoping to get a little bit more tonight. And he had mentioned he wanted to qualify towards the front, but his hope was to be on that inside line towards the front of the field. So, I mean, he's got exactly what he wants. He's going to start 5th. And he was looking at that field number right away. So I think again, pending cautions, of course, I think we're going to see that strategy right off the bat for sure from that 5 car of Charles Teed. But knowing him, at some point, that competitiveness is going to get the better of some of these guys, and they're going to try to find their way to get to that front before the race is over, probably before the first set of pit stops even.
Did you just say Matt Wagner?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I say Matt's one of those though. He qualified, but he's gonna have a ways to go here. He's down there and in the mid pack, really, in that number 11 car. So he's got a long ways to climb there to try to get to the front here tonight. So he's got to same thing. He's got to be careful. Anders Arhus, he's been one of our pole sitters the last couple of weeks. He's right in the midfield as well. So like you said, there's some big hitters here further back than probably they want to be and probably expected to be as well.
And I wonder how many. One of the things we were talking about pre-race is that the fuel is going to be the same situation as last week. If you can stretch it out to 37 laps, if it stays green, then you can do this race on 2 stops. But in order to do that, you're going to have to be 1, not leading, and 2, probably playing with your engine mapping and doing everything you can to just draft for a while.
Yeah, exactly right. And saying with that green flag is out, so we're going to see what the strategy is going to be for these guys as we get the green flag. And a great start for the 89 of Nick DeGroot. It's going to actually get some room to be able to get some angle into turn number 1. And Bud Steele is going to follow through. He's going to grab that, or he's going to fall into the 3rd position, I should say, but not for long. He's going to jump to that 3rd lane right off the bat here as we go 3 wide for the lead with Nick DeGroot, Bud Steele, and Craig Forsyth. But you see the momentum just wasn't there up top. He's going to cut back all the way to the inside line. And I say I'm watching Charles Teed again, Steve, and say it looks like he's going to have a nice little view for this fight, it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the question I have is, can Bud Steele hang there on the outside like I was doing in practice without having a line of cars behind him?
That's going to be a good question. You can see right there, you see a little bit of a push there from that 5 car of Charles Teed that we were just talking about showing on the onboard there. And yeah, saying look at the outside line. Here comes Jack Walls. He's going to try to make that 3rd line happen. And I think that's where things are going to start getting dicey. These guys are going to try to be finding ways to get around one another. I'll say right now, Jack showing right around the top 5 here. With right now, it's like I said, Charles Teed to his inside side by side here with the 6 and the 27 for that 2nd position. And so it looks like they can get just about to the front row. I think that's about where they stall out. So I say if you're Nick DeGroot, you're definitely liking where you're at right now. So it seems like just not anybody able to really get around him. I mean, look at the back of this car of Nick DeGroot right now, and it's definitely a hornet's nest behind him.
And Jack Walls, I'm noticing he's racing super aggressive for this early in the race. He keeps trying to make it 3 wide on the outside, but it's not quite working so far.
And I'm wondering, though, if this is an aggression thing, or I think this also could be a clean air thing for Jack, where it's easier for him to run that 3rd line, just go that little bit higher, and that's going to allow him to kind of keep that clean air on the nose and let him kind of just be able to stay in the throttle better, not get that dreaded aero push that we talk about a lot. So right now it will be interesting to see, but right now a lot of drivers doing the same. You see right behind him, you've got Michael Spells right there, and then behind Michael, I believe that is Charles Johnson. Yeah, this is Charles in the 9 car right there as well on the top side. So Yeah, these guys all kind of fanning out is pretty much anywhere they can, and that's where things get really dicey. But right now, these guys have been doing a good job keeping enough room between one another. But there's times where, at least on my side, I'm definitely getting nervous when you see how close they are to one another.
Yeah, same here. And that's a really good point, Guile. It could be that he's just looking for some clean air out there. It's interesting, maybe because of the number of cars that are out there compared to I was out with just 4 of us, so we were 2 by 2, and so the 2 cars that would have been in the front row were able to stay side by side without any problem for lap after lap. But this looks more like the current stock car package at Talladega, for example, where the outside line can make some of the ground up, but you'll notice that that Bud Steele, he can get as close as the second car in line on the bottom, but he cannot make it up to the first car.
Yeah, like I said, he's stalling out once he gets to Craig Forsyth. That's about as far as he can go. So I think you're right there, and I think also a part of it too is just the tires are nice and fresh, and temps are getting right to where the magic number is, because right now ambient temp 75 degrees, track temp 114, so it's not cool on the track by any means. But right now these guys are just doing what they can. I think exactly what you said. I think Bud Steele just right now trying to keep himself, same thing, kind of keep himself in that best position. He can't always, you see a little bit of bobble there by that 6 car. Charles Teed had to react. He's going to lose a little bit of momentum here. But with that draft, as I say that, actually the 6 gets close to the 27 of Craig Forsyth as well. So I think aggression might be starting to ramp up just that little bit here. And I say definitely starting these guys getting pretty close to one another. They got a little dicey there for just a moment.
Yep, and you have to wonder, like, are some of these guys that are, 6th, 7th, 8th, and farther back starting to get a little frustrated because they can't go anywhere?
Yeah, it's very possible. I'll say, I mean, there's definitely, you can get towards the front of the field here, because I'm going to hop on board with one of those drivers. That's the 51 of Jim Brooks. He's up plus 12 all the way up into the top 10. And then you look right in front of him, that pink car of David Leclair as well in the 50. He's plus 13 from his starting spot, Steve. So I'll say, I mean, you can work your way towards the front, but I think, like I said, it's just to kind of crest that peak is going to be a whole different story. And again, it's one thing to try to pass these guys and try to get to the front here. It's a whole nother thing when you've got somebody like Nick DeGroot, who, again, new to the league this series, but definitely not at all new to these Indy cars. And I mean, he's definitely, as we've seen, he's been one to beat week in and week out. So say it's going to take a mistake at this point for Nick to kind of fall into the clutches of some of these guys. But I think right now what a lot of these drivers are doing, though, like I think Craig Forsyth, Charles Teed, is let's let Nick run this thing out. He's going to be burning the field, breaking the draft for everybody. Should potentially put him in that 3-stop strategy category. So again, I don't suspect there's any fuel savings going on from this 89 car right now with him leading the field, because otherwise I think we'd see everybody pretty much completely stacked up into him a little bit more than we already see.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the same thing that we saw last week. Whoever it was that was out front leading, the more time, the more laps that they led, the worse their fuel mileage was, and there was no way they were going to make 37 laps last week when they did that. And I would say the same thing probably is going on with Bud Steele, as hard as he's going to have to push it to be the first car in line on the outside.
Yeah, and I'm in complete agreement with you. I think Bud's same thing. He's just right now, his foot probably to the floor as well in that 6 machine, working the middle groove and not, I'm sure he's kind of doing the same thing, just being able to keep that throttle to the floor here. But then you look at those guys just a little bit further back from like the 88 of Michael Spell. He's right there, and every so often he peeks to the outside line like we saw Jack Walls do. But I'm sure there's times where he then gets back in line behind the 6 car, and most likely does have to slow it down a little bit, lift a little bit, which I'm sure is going to save some good fuel. The question that we don't have an answer for, of course, is if they're saving fuel via throttle, are they saving fuel via fuel map? There's obviously a lot of different options there, which again, fuel map 1, that's full rich, and you can go all the way down to fuel map 5, which is the leanest you can go. But again, it just kind of depends on how aggressive you can be and how much you can hold on to that draft. So I'd say right now, unfortunately, the only guys who know that are going to be these ones behind the wheel. So maybe we'll have a chance to find out from them after the race, though.
So I wonder if Jack Walls tires gave up on him, or if he just decided that he'd had enough of burning as much fuel as he was in the third lane on the outside. Because I noticed
Yeah.
he's just kind of falling in line now, and it's just riding.
I think he's kind of trying to keep himself in a safe position because, I mean, man, it's busy up front. As I say, the little contact between Michael Spell and David Leclair, they're able to keep it together there, but David definitely got a little bit of a piece of that. You can see his car kind of push up a bit. Looks like the car is going to be all right, but definitely a moment between that 88 and the 50 there. And I think that's the concern you're going to have when you get this close-quartered racing at a track like this. Like you said, pretty much like you said, a plate race. However, to make it just that much crazier, these guys probably going about 220, I would say, at least throughout here. So this is a 1.5-mile track, Stephen. Right now, they've been putting laps down in the low 25-second bracket. So say a lot happening in a very short amount of time.
Yep, and that's not too far off from what they qualified. They qualified at 24.8s.
Yeah, exactly, Ryan. They'll probably be down into those 24.8s once the fuel starts to wear off as well. So I don't think tire wear probably the biggest of issues, but as I say that though, I noticed there Craig Forsyth, I thought I saw him push up a little bit out of 4, so I'm wondering if those older tires, probably hotter tires, and then the dirty air might be starting to affect that number 27 machine. Another driver that we've seen falling back a little bit from this group is that 5 of Charles Teed. He's dropped a fair bit back now, was sitting around 5th or so. Now he's back to just inside the top 10, so I'm wondering the same. Maybe holding that inside line might be hurting the tires of that 5 car. I say if you're in that clean air, you're probably feeling pretty good, but maybe that dirty air might have been enough to hurt those tires in the 5 machine and the 27.
And let's see, what lap are we at?
We're on lap 22.
Okay, Jack Walsh just pitted. I don't know if this is a strategy move or if something went wrong.
Yeah, car looks clean. I don't see anything that stands out to me. We'll see what the pit stop is here. And he's already down and away, 6.27 second stop. So, yeah, I'm not sure on that one for Jack. May have been one of those strategy calls, or maybe a pit stop where he had to pit for some contact or something like that. Unfortunately, not sure. But, yeah, unfortunately, it's going to put him, I believe, a lap down right off the bat here. However, of course, the bonus of that for him being the fact that right now the only car 1 lap down, and he's now in a pretty calm area here on the track, so maybe not as crazy as where he was there just a little bit ago.
Well, if you pit on like every 22 laps, is that going to...
I feel like that puts it into a 4-stop strategy, really. So I don't think that was a scheduled stop. I think something may have happened that we missed, unfortunately. But right now, and you see, I'm thinking exactly what we just talked about, Steve, with the inside line maybe burning stuff up. So I'm watching Craig Forsyth, and he's definitely starting to appear more interested in finding his way to the top of the track now, not just staying in a tire track. So I think that dirty air is playing a role in that 27 machine. So you see, he's trying to find just a little bit of clean air on that nose. Can't hold that white line right behind the 89 like we saw earlier. So I think based on that, I would say most likely track position going to be definitely king. I mean, it usually is king with these cars, especially at these faster tracks. But I think right now, for sure, we're seeing kind of clean air is king here. But we have some big movers coming up now, Steve. I was saying we got multiple drivers here, over 10 positions gained. Leading that group is David Leclair. You see him in that pink car, number 50 car, working the top side there. Right behind him, a little back there, Eric Schaus. He's plus 12 in that 72 machine. So I think he's got the Sour Patch Kids, if I'm not mistaken, on the side of that car. Maybe also might have another sponsor on there. I might be mistaken. I'll have to double check later. Then we got Jim Brooks. We mentioned him as well, plus 15 a little earlier. But then one more driver that's made a big charge here. That's the 80 of Mike Rigney there. I say the same thing. You see all these drivers, they're all working that middle groove, Steve. So I think that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as the run goes on, as these tires wear. I think this groove is definitely starting to move a little bit from the inside line in the dirty air to the middle to top.
I've been watching Jack Walsh, who's running... he's got 2 partners right now, John Brill and Joseph Morales. And the 3 of them occasionally are running 2 to 3 tenths faster than the lead pack, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think just with as busy as it is, I think Jack Key can run kind of a less aggressive. Oh, as I said, a caution is out, Steve. I think it may have been the 6 of Bud Steele. I'm looking on the track map. Yeah, I think the 6 was involved here, so that's going to bring the yellow out. Let's go back and try to find what happened here.
And that would look like netcode.
All right,
Between
so we're looking at the 50 and the 6. I don't know if that was netcode or did the 6 get loose there, Steve?
it's possible that he got loose, but if you look at it in real time, and it just looks like his car reacts like they made contact.
So we're gonna look from the back of Craig Forsyth. That's it. Didn't even mention leaders are pitting here. We'll go full speed here and take a look from the back of the 27 as they come through 3 and 4. Yeah, you're right. It does have a little bobble as if they made contact. So drivers involved there for sure. We saw Bud Steele unfortunately caught up in that one. I think I saw another car get caught up in that as well. Not 100% sure which that was, but I'll say we'll jump back live because pit stops are underway, and I don't think there's going to be any strategy here. I think it's going to be 4 tires and fuel for our leaders. As you can see, Nick DeGroot already in the pits. You see Matt Wagner, I think some strategy call from that 11 car possibly. We're going to take a look and see, did he win that race out of pit road? Or actually, you know what I think may have happened here? I think Matt Wagner may have just actually driven through the pits there, not hit the stall, but just drove through here. So maybe a little bit of strategy for that 11 car to maybe try to get a lap lead here under yellow. Our big bonus, though, Steve, on this one is going to be Jack Walls. That's going to put him back onto the lead lap after the unscheduled stop for him. So he'll be back on lead lap right in the thick of things, and it should keep all our drivers here on the lead lap as well.
Excellent. And that also means that he can pit if he so chooses.
Yeah, so I suspect we'll see most likely Matt will probably stay out this time and get that lap lead, then probably come in next time around in the 11 car, get that bonus point. I'm looking at the numbers here. So right now we're on lap 31 here. So I'm trying to think, let's say math again, never my strong suit, Steve, but I'm wondering if there's any potential of a strategy call from this point in the race to see where this would take these guys. But I feel like we're still in a similar window that we would have been earlier for I think still being on the 2-stop strategy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think we are, because it's only lap 30 right now, so they would have to have gone to lap 37 to have a shot at a 2-stop strategy. So I think
That's
we're still in 3-stop territory.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this doesn't act. I don't think this cuts off a pit stop here, but yeah, I think this puts everybody in a much better spot. Do need to mention some drivers that are in the pits and have had longer pit stops. May have been caught up in it now that I'm wondering. Say Anders Arhus here in that number 10 car. So trying to get a better angle. Yeah, he's definitely got some severe damage. I think possibly had to take a tow. So right now he's been sitting in the pits for about 1.5 minutes, unfortunately, for Anders here. I say, did Dooney mention we did see Jack Walls, he did hit pit road, and a few other drivers that had longer pit stops as well, Steve. Jari Brupacher, he had a 20-second pit stop, so I'm suspecting damage repairs to that car. 12 seconds for Bud Steele. To me, that says probably a front wing replacement for him. Pretty much everybody else was in about the 8 or so second bracket, which is a pretty typical 4-tire fuel stop. So now we'll watch Matt Wagner. And yeah, here comes Matt. This is what I kind of expected to see there. So he got that lap lead. Now he's going to duck in and he'll hit pit road. He's going to start in the back here. And you know what, Steve? I think there is some strategy going on here because Charles Teed, he's topping off and he was one playing that fuel number before. So I think they've got something up their sleeves here that they're looking at the fuel numbers here based on what lap we're at.
Yeah, I kind of like this. It's an interesting call and it may actually work out for them.
And I'm going to do some quick math here, which is always dangerous, Steve. So basically, we're going to restart on lap 34, which will give us 76 laps to go. And based on that, they need to go 38 laps, Steve. We're talking about that 37 number. So right now, they're aiming to try to get 38 laps of fuel to be able to make it to the end on one stop from here. Again, this is all pending it going green. So what this has done, Steve, is basically we've pretty much extended that fuel number. We know they were talking about maybe getting to lap 37 or so on fuel would be a 2-stopper. So now they got to try to find one extra lap in these cars to try to make it on a single stop to the end from here. But again, big movers early though, Steve. I said front row is still the same up front with the 89-27. But now in third, you've got Eric Schaus, David Leclair, Jim Brooks, all third, fourth, and fifth, plus 15, 16, and 17 for those 3 drivers. And then Mike Riggany plus 12 for him there in the 7th spot. So big movers here early. But now it's going to be all about this restart with Nick DeGroot leading the field. All right, green flag is out. We're down and away. Eric Schaus got a great reaction there. He's actually going to work the outside there for a moment of Craig Forsyth. He ducks back in line though, and yeah, so I think a really good pit stop, I should say, reaction there from that 72 car. But I would say now it's all about Craig kind of picking up that draft here, and he's going to find his way to start chasing down that 89 car. Again, it's one of the downsides of these cars is they break a big hole in the air, and say those cars behind, they get a big head of steam.
So will it be enough of a head of steam for him to go flying by? I doubt it. Doesn't look that way.
Does not look that way, but again, Craig's not one of those. He's a wily driver too, so he might be thinking, you know what? I want track position more than I want to pit their extra fuel saved. So I mean, because right now, if he just stays right on the gearbox of this 89 car, I mean, he can pretty much save fairly aggressively in this car. So I think that might be what we see from Craig Forsyth here. Might be kind of just going to kind of go cruise control here and just try to work those numbers and maybe not have to stress about the his track position and get back up there. Because that's the other thing that we need to mention with Matt Wagner pitting when he did. Because right now Matt's back in the 15th spot. Charles Teed behind him in 16th. I mean, again, they're going for that fuel strategy, Steve. But I mean, you look at the interval between themselves and the leader. Right now they're about 2-3 seconds off. So I mean, at some point they're going to have to, I would think, try to find a way to close that gap back up. And I feel like what they're doing here, I mean, they're going to be burning more fuel trying to close that gap back up to that group in front.
Yep, that's always a concern when you get kind of separated from the pack. But they're pulling in pretty quickly, so I think they're going to be able to go into fuel save mode if that's what they're doing. Probably this lap.
Yeah, you're right. It looks like they're catching pretty quickly. As you can see, it's pretty much a 2x2 up front. They're now David Leclair leading the top side in that number 50 car, trying to find a way through there. And we do see Anders Arhus, he's back out on track just in front of these leaders here. Unfortunately, with that tow he had to take, he's down a couple of laps here, 2 laps down. But he's the only car lap down right now, Steve. But the thing is, if he can at all feasibly stay in front of these leaders, that's going to be huge for him, because then the next caution, if one comes out, will put him back to just 1 down. And of course, I mean, that just saves him the opportunities of trying to get those laps back. So say right now, if you're that 10 car, I think he's driving for all he's worth. But unfortunately, I think what we're going to see is eventually that leader is going to start picking up the draft off of his 10 car. And that's going to pull Nick DeGroot right up into there.
Well, and the advantage that'll give Nick DeGroot if he decides to just fall in behind Anders Arhus is he can finally go into fuel savings mode and still keep the lead.
That's a really good point. And so the question though for Nick is, he's had clean air this whole race on the front wing of this 89 car. Is that something he's going to want to do? And then say in the same time too, he might want to follow that 10 car, but as I say that, you see the 10 moving to the top. I say the 10 might not want to do that, might just want to be nice and get out of the way and move to the top, which is exactly what he does. So I'd say, unfortunately, great sportsmanship for the 10 car, but unfortunately, that does put him now 3 down. I think that was definitely a potential, but it looks like that 89 car going to stay out up front here with now the 50 of David Leclair definitely trying to put some big pressure on him here.
Yeah, Anders Arhus doing that class thing and just getting out of the way so the leaders can battle it out. Yeah, and David Leclair made a nice move around Craig Forsyth while we were watching that.
Yeah, you're right. And he's trying to see if he can find a way. You can see where, you see right there, he had to react to it. I think he's trying to get that slipstream, Steve. He's trying to grab the draft of the 89 car at the right time and then make that move to the outside and see if he can find a way. I saw some smoke, Steve. I think we might be seeing a caution. Yep, caution is out. And I'm trying to see who it was, and I think it may have involved Jack Walls and John Brill. So we'll have to see how that all unfolded here. We'll go back and try to take a look. I think it did happen around Jack Wall, so let's jump back and we'll take a look here. Oh, he's in the middle of a 3 wide here. You see he's got Gary Corley to his inside. He's got Bud Steele right to his outside. And it looks like on the entry, it looks like fighting for real estate, honestly, there. And Bud just sneaks by there, Steve. I don't know how he missed that one. But unfortunately, Jack Wall's pretty decent contact with the wall, and then unfortunately bounces off the wall. And you see drivers trying to avoid him there, and that's where you see John Brill, Joseph DeCiro. They make contact with one another. And then there's a third driver. I think that's Yari Brupacher that gets a piece of this as well. So it looks like about a 4-car incident here with that caution there, unfortunately. So curious to see strategy-wise what kind of calls we're going to say, because we do see drivers here. We're going to go back live because we have drivers hitting pit road now. And Nick DeGroot, he does hit pit road, but we've got a couple calls here up front here for strategy. And so we'll show you that in just a moment. First, we're going to see what the calls are. And look at Nick DeGroot there, Steve. Fuel only. Wants to make sure he keeps as much track position as he possibly can. So big strategy call by that 89 car here. But the 2 strategy calls, though. Bud Steele narrowly missing that incident there. He's going to stay out. He's going to take the lead here. Charles Teed, he's going to cycle through in 2nd position. And do need to mention on the Lucky Dog side of things, Anders Arhus, he did get the wave around. That's going to put him now back to 2 down. And again, I believe at the moment, well, actually, I shouldn't say the only car a lap down now, because unfortunately Jack Walls and I believe John Brill both had to take a tow, so those guys not going to be, unfortunately, where they want to be here at this point.
Yeah, that's a shame. And I looked at it from the chopper view, and it looked to me like this was another net code incident.
Yeah, and you always hate to see those kinds of things happen because it takes away from what you feel like you can do. At the same time, too, it's so difficult for these guys to be able to do too much with it, though, because, again, you're going 220 or so at a track like this, and so it's that little contact patch, if you will. It's really hard to stay right on top of it. So, yeah, it's unfortunate to say we saw Jack Walls up front plenty there early on. It was in a good position there, and then unfortunately, John Brill just wrong spot, wrong time. Same goes for Yari there in the 49 car, as well as just Joseph DeCiro. But I say most of those guys are still on the lead lap. I say Jack and John, they got the worst of it though. And at the moment, I believe they've at least gone 1 down. Not sure if it's been 2 down or not. And that could make this Lucky Dog battle here just that little more intense, depending on when that 90 and the 83 get out of the pits there between themselves and that 10 of Anders Arhus.
So everybody that just pitted now can definitely make it on one more stop.
Yep. I think the question marks are Bud Steele and Charles Teed, but I think with Charles Teed topping off and with him saving fuel early on, I feel like Charles is in probably a pretty good spot. I think the question mark right now on the one-stop strategy is the 6 of Bud Steele. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough for him to be able to make it.
Yeah, I would tend to say probably not as aggressively as he's been driving. And I suspect that Charles Teed is not going to try and pass him. Probably just going to hang back there and save fuel. And it'll be interesting to see what Nick DeGroot does, because I suspect he'll jump to the outside and try and get by these guys. But I don't know if he's going to be able to take the lead back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the call is going to be for some of these guys, like you mentioned here, just because it's kind of a crapshoot right now. Because they'll say we're not sure what kind of difference tires make. They're going to have about a 10-lap green flag difference on the tires. So we'll see if that plays a role at all in this one as they go. But yeah, if you're Charles T, did you want... I'm sure he was probably hoping to have been able to be the first one to stay out to get that lead and keep that clean air on his nose. So I'm curious to see maybe he tries to make one run at it, see if he can get that big momentum and make a power move on the 6 car. And then I think if that doesn't happen, then maybe he drops back in line and make sure he doesn't risk falling back to that inside group.
Yeah, I think that if I'm Charles Teed, as close as he's playing it on fuel right now, I'm not even going to try and pass for the lead. I don't want that clean air because I don't want to be sitting out there burning up my fuel.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. And of course, this is all pending it going green to the end. Say this is only our second yellow, so I mean, say we still got just under halfway to go here. So yeah, so still a lot that's gonna happen throughout between now and the end of this race. But it's gonna be Bud Steele leading the way here. And now the question, of course, is going to be the restart he can get and the reaction of these guys behind him. So we're going to hop on board, look out the back of that 6 car as the pace car ducks on in. It's going to be Bud Steele leading the way on this restart, coming to 48 of 110. So far, so good, Steve. Looks like a pretty clean restart there. I don't see too much accordion effects throughout the back. So now, as you can see, he got a little gap over the 5 of Charles T. But then look at Charles. He's also got a nice little gap over Nick DeGroot. So this is what I was talking about. If Charles can get a nice run here at the right time, this might be his opportunity to try to make that move, get that lap led before Nick DeGroot gets back to him. So we'll see if that comes into fruition or not. But I'll say right now, Nick DeGroot, he's having to try to hold off David Leclair as well. David, I say he's definitely been in a good spot most of this race, and he's going to try to make the most of it here.
Yeah, and he's definitely been super aggressive tonight with that very nice looking pink car.
Yeah, I say trying to remember the formal terms lately. I say it was Force India for a long time, and then I say I know it changed from the F1 paint scheme, and we see right off the bat, you talked about Nick DeGroot probably wanting to try to get to the top and see if he can get to the point, and that's exactly what we're seeing. He's worked that top side and is able to get around the 5 of Charles Teed, so we'll see now. Does Nick still try to find a way to be that first car on the top groove? But right now it looks like he's pretty content here staying on the inside line. And then you look at the 5 and the 27 and say they kind of back where they were at the beginning of this race, sitting right there in that comfortable spot on the inside groove here.
And I'm telling you, Charles Teed is doing what I would do. He's just hanging back there, saving fuel.
Yeah, so I think it's exactly like you said, the gap you see between himself and right now that 89 of Nick DeGroot. I think that's what you said. I think that's a fuel map change there probably for him. Don't know which number it is, but yeah, I think you're right. I think this is definitely a fuel map strategy here. And I think now at this point in the race, pending, of course, us going green to get into that window to make it to the end, that's now where the strategy is really going to start to unfold, is what is the right call here. Do you want to maybe try to pit early, kind of do it like a road course where you pit once you're in your window, but then that puts you at the risk of a caution trapping you a lap down? Or do you just run it as far as you can until you absolutely have to make that final pit stop? So it's going to be very interesting to see if we do get this green flag run to the pit stop window, what strategy is going to be the best one to make here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I think based on what I saw from Jack Walls before when he came out by himself, you don't really lose anything if you get out there and have to run by yourself. You might even be able to go faster than what the pack's running, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's what I was seeing. So it may not be a detriment to pit before other people do. It may be an advantage.
Oh, contact. We're going to have a trouble. Oh, it's going to be a big one here. Yeah, it catches up to 50 there. I think, yeah, Charles Johnson caught up in that as well. Eric Schaus in this one. I'm trying to see who else. I think I saw Jim Brooks possibly getting caught up. Oh, good brakes there by Yari avoiding that one. So yeah, oh yep, 51 definitely heavy damage to his car as well. So, and I think from what I saw there, I think that 50 may have just it was the 9 and the 50 where the contact originated there. So we'll go back. We'll try to see exactly where this all kind of came to fruition. A lot of drivers here, unfortunately, having to take a tow. So yeah, let's go back and we'll see. It looks like Charles is trying to limp this thing to the pits, trying to avoid having to take a tow as well. So let's go back. Let's try to find this here.
It looks like David Leclair just misjudged his closing rate.
Yeah, just caught the back of the 9 car, and then at that point, say there's just pretty much nothing you can do, and you can see, yeah, Eric Schaus does catch the wall. Jim Brooks, a hard hit for him as well, and then you'll see some of the other drivers, unfortunately, kind of a couple groups really get caught up in this one. So I think there's a few cars just in front of this incident as well. Yeah, so we'll go back over to the 9 of Charles because you can see there. I'm trying to see who that is next. Oh, that's the that was Mike Rigney, apologies, who got caught up in this as well. Didn't catch it the first time. So yeah, so unfortunately a handful of cars getting caught up in this one here. So yeah, so this doesn't change the fuel strategy here, Steve, but I say unfortunately is going to definitely. Oh, also Anders Arhu, Steve tried to avoid it, went to the inside, but unfortunately, that's right where Mike Rigney was. So kind of a night going from bad to worse. That 10 machine already trapped a couple laps down. So we're going to jump back live, however, because strategy is actually changed here, Steve. Surprisingly, the 6 of Bud Steele, he decided to pit there, Steve. So that's going to drop him down just outside of the top 10. Looks like about the 11th position here.
I think that in Bud's case, he was going to have to pit one more time than everybody else because he was sitting out there really burning off fuel leading the race. So I'm not surprised that he pitted. I think this is really going to work out well for Charles Teed.
Yeah, so I think this definitely puts Charles in the window for sure to make it to the end here. Not a lot of takers there. Pretty much the top 10 stayed out. So you see on the ticker over on the left. I'm saying we'll run through that real quick actually while we can. So we've got right now our race leader is that number 89 of Nick DeGroot, our pole sitter. Charles Teed there in second. Then you got Craig Forsyth here in the third spot. Michael Spell in fourth. Then rounding out our top 5 is David Payton. And 6th through 10th, those drivers, again, who did not pit there but should still be good to go in one stop, will be Jeff Heisong in the 18, Todd Merkel in the 2, Gary Corley in that number 7 machine, and you got Alec Coates there in the number 3, and then round at the top 10 is that 60 of Joseph Morales. So those drivers opted not to pit here under this yellow, but again, should still be good to go in the one-stopper. The one driver that now is in a spot to go further than these guys starts off with that 6 of Bud Steele, and then Joseph DeCiro in the 110 and Matt Wagner in the number 11 car. And then the next thing, of course, Steve, is going to be trying to catch which drivers are being lapped here with that faster or with the tows that they've had to take. I believe right now Jari Brupacher in 16th is the last car on the lead lap, I should say. And then Charles Johnson in the 9, he is 1 lap down. And I believe unfortunately with that 10 of Anders Arhu's getting caught up in that incident, that's put Jack Walls. He got the wave around. That's going to put Jack back to just 1 lap down as well. So it'll be the 9 and the 83 trying to fight for that lucky dog position. And then drivers 2 down right now include John Brill in the 90. The 51 of Jim Brooks, who is back out on track. Eric Schaus as well in the 72. And then David Leclair in the 50. I believe I saw him back out on track. I'm sorry. It looks like David has unfortunately retired after that incident. And I am seeing a few more drivers here topping off, Steve. Joseph DeCiro, Matt Wagner. They're going to top off here on the 1 to go, which right now we're at 58 of 110, which is right now 53 to go. So maybe some strategy calls for them here. So they definitely can't make it on one stop to the end from here, or make it to the end from here. Can make it on one stop, but maybe just trying to see if they can go a little further than the rest of the field here now and see if maybe they catch a timely caution during the pit stop cycle should we get there.
Yeah, I like that move by Matt Wagner because he didn't really lose many spots, and now he's got more fuel than almost everyone else, so he can be as aggressive as he wants to be.
Yeah, exactly right. Right now, really, the one driver that's completely off strategy of everybody is that number 5 of Charles Teed. So that's going to be the question mark, is going to be kind of for him. I think the question will be, when he pits, do we see drivers react to him or do they stay with their own strategy? Because like you said, there were times where it seemed like by yourself you could actually make better time possibly than in the draft. So that's going to be intriguing to see if we get to that point in this one. So we're going to be starting this in Steve. 52 to go at the line. Again, still outside the window to make it to the end. So one more pit stop for these guys. And right now 21 cars left in the race. And we've got 16 on the lead lap.
So I think, as before, and unfortunately Anders Arhus has disconnected, I think Charles Teed is going to do the same thing. He's just going to not try and pass for the lead. He's going to hang back there, save fuel. This caution is helping him a lot at saving fuel. So it'll be interesting to see what lap he pits on, because as long as he's within 34 laps to go, he'll be able to run it as hard as he wants all the way to the end.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think at this point, I think he'll be in a good spot to do so. So he last pit on lap 32. So I mean, based on the numbers, you would think he can only go just a little bit further there, but we've had enough cautions, I think, that's been able to get him in a much better fuel situation. And so, I mean, I was actually in a similar boat in a race with Dark Horse on Wednesday where I just was in a bad spot in track position. So I said, you know what, I'm going to kind of bank on yellows here. I'm going to go ahead and stay out here, try to get some track position. And the yellows just by chance wound up falling my way where I was able to save the fuel on their yellow and make it to the end and not have to worry about that potential extra pit stop. So I think Charles T definitely in the same boat right now in that 5 machine, as we definitely got some cars that are making some big lap times right now. Last time by, I believe, Bud Steele may have actually ran the fastest lap of the race at 24:25 in that number 6 car. Saying that's where you're going to get those huge drafts here, trying to catch. So when everybody kind of gets grouped back up, kind of that accordion effect, if you will, with the draft to get right back to the front here.
It's definitely hauling the mail.
Yeah, I mean, a 24-second lap at a 1.5 mile track is pretty quick. So right now, it's like you said, though, I think Charles Teed, again, just giving himself a little bit of breathing room around these guys. So the one thing that we saw before, though, with him doing this is towards the end of that fuel run, he would really fall towards the back of that group a fair bit, from about the top 5 to just around the top 10 or so. So I'll have to keep an eye and see if that comes into play or not tonight. But we are starting to get a few new players here right at the front of the field. To say if one of those is David Payton now. He qualified in 6th, but really haven't talked about him much. He's right now in the 4th spot. We've talked about Michael Spell a little bit as well, still sitting in 5th, and then also Gary Corley. He's been kind of just quietly been in this area, but now he's creeped up now into that 6th position, and Todd Merkel as well. He's now up into that 7th spot. So drivers definitely starting to move their way forward here. As I say, unfortunately, a few incidents have taken a few guys out of a good spot here, but other guys really trying to capitalize on that.
And Bud Steele had pitted early on the last caution. Is that correct?
I believe, Bud Steele was the first car to pit there. So right now he is the highest of those drivers that pitted under this caution. So based on the numbers, it's obviously hard to say with caution laps and all that, but basically Bud Steele pitted 11 laps later than the rest of the field, other than Charles Teed, who pitted about 23 laps later than Charles there. Then for the drivers that topped off on that one to go, Matt Wagner, the highest of those in the 11 car, which right now he is actually, I believe he may have lost the draft pack here. Yeah, he's actually right now one of the front cars of that. So actually that topping off has really hurt him. So right now we've got about, I believe, 11 cars in this main pack, Steve. And then you got to drop back about 3 seconds, I believe, to get to where Matt Wagner there in 12th. So unfortunately, that top off has actually really hurt this 11 car.
Well, at least with the top off, he can push it as hard as he wants. So maybe he'll catch these guys. I think he will.
So right now he's working around, or working, I should say, behind the 83 of Jack Walls. Right with him, he's got the 61 of Kurt Rose as well. Oh, as I said, Jack Walls spinning on the front stretch, may or may not bring out a yellow because he's off the track. Actually, he slides back on the track, but there's nobody around him. So I think Jack may have caught the apron there, but we do stay green for that. But that was almost a big moment there. Luckily, everybody able to avoid him. So we stay green, and I'm going to jump back up front, Steve, because Craig Forsyth, he's starting to try to work that top side, keeping the pressure definitely on now, the 89 of Nick DeGroot.
Yep, he made a move and got up along side by side, even pulled ahead a teeny bit, but just wasn't able to sustain it.
The one thing that spin, unfortunately, for the 83 for Jack Walls, that really hurts him, but it really helps Charles Johnson, because actually, and also Charles is in this main lead pack here, so he is really in the catbird seat here to be able to try to get his lap back and get back onto the lead lap. So right now things kind of stabled out a little bit here up front. Like I said, I think everybody's kind of thinking strategies right now. So we're on lap number 70. We mentioned Charles Teed last time he pitted was lap 32, so we've gone about 38 laps since his pit stop. We talked about that fuel window being probably around 35 when you're going full rich, but we know Charles A has been saving, and B, we've had a handful of cautions here. So I would say maybe about lap 75. If he can get to, what was our magic number we said, Steve? Was it about 34 to go, 35 to go? He'd feel pretty good?
34 to go, I think. So you need to make it to lap 76.
Yeah, so he needs to get about 5 more laps right now as we're going to cross the line here. We're going to be at 39 to go. So yeah, so if he can make 5 more laps in that number 5 machine, he'll be, I think he's going to probably be the first pitter, obviously, of these guys in front. Again, though, that's going to put him a lap down. So then he's going to have to worry about some of those drivers if there is a yellow that could put him in a bad spot, especially with, we mentioned the 9 of Charles Johnson right now being in the lead pack and being in that spot. And actually, here comes Bud Steele. I don't believe this is scheduled because he's pitting here with 38 to go. So I'm not sure about this strategy, Steve. We've been seeing Bud kind of do some different pit strategies than we're used to.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Well, we'll keep an eye to see if it's a normal. Yeah, it's another 8.5 second stop. So that's 4 tires and fuel for that 6 car. So we'll see. Maybe he's trying to do the road course approach, like we mentioned, pit early. So we'll see. Actually, as I said, it looks like I think something may have happened there. It's like showing him now just now leaving the pits. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. But right now, say Nick DeGroot though still leading the way here. I'll say top 5 hasn't changed too much right now. Gary Corley, he's trying to work the top here around the 2 of Todd Merkel. And we're getting closer, Steve. We're crossing the line here. It's going to be 36 to go. Here's some background noises on my side. Sorry if that came through. But yeah, it's starting to get pretty interesting here.
And one of the other things that's going to add a little tension here, when Charles T does have to pit, he's going to have to do a good job of letting everybody behind him know, and let's hope they're all paying attention, because it is hard to get on the pit road when you've got somebody right on your behind.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm going to jump back again. Yeah, so Matt Wagner, he is leading the second group still. So I want to compare his lap times to our leader right now. Last time by, he ran at 25:22. However, Nick DeGroot 25:18. So they're pretty much right on top of each other lap time wise. And so yeah, so we're going to put the focus now on Charles T, though, like you mentioned, Steve, because we're coming to that magic number here. We are at 34 to go. So at this point, I think Charles is kind of playing with house money, if you will, at this point. I say kind of going with the Las Vegas theme here. So the question is going to be, when does that 5 make that pit stop? Like I said, he's definitely going to be letting the drivers know on Discord and in iRacing, hey, I got to be pitting here. So say that's where you have to hope, if you're a Michael Spell, for instance, that you've got some room to move to that top side, which right now is kind of right on the edge of being Gary Corley to his outside corner panel.
And I wonder how many of these guys are aware that Charles T hasn't pitted and is going to need to be pitting very soon.
I'll say if you're in your Discord, probably plenty. If you're not in the Discord, I doubt you're that aware of it. But I mean, right now, he's making some great field numbers here, Steve. I mean, I say we're now down to 32 to go. So I say we know for sure from here he can definitely just kind of put the hammer down, go full roach. So I think he's just trying to stretch it now as far as he possibly can. And then we'll see what that strategy is going to be for him.
Yeah, he just keyed up. I think he's going to be pitting right now.
Yeah, I see Michael Spell. He's peeking the top, so that's going to be the first of our leaders here to hit pit road. So he needs to try to make this count. No mistakes. Looks like he's done a great job there, Steve. Keep the speed up, able to get down to speed there. I think that's a perfect pit entry for that 5 car. So he's going to be one of our first lead drivers here to make that scheduled green flag pit stop. So now we'll be watching for Nick DeGroot. Does he opt to react to this, or is he going to try to keep that track position? And then the next question is going to be some of those drivers. I'd say right now the person that's really in a good spot here is James Ledford. He's still in this lead draft, Steve, and he pitted about 11 laps later than the leaders. So I'm really watching this 48 car. He's just at the edge right now of staying in this lead pack draft here. But I think James right now, he's going to be able to go further than anybody right now should we stay green. And then for Charles Teed, he's just coming back out on track right now. So as we mentioned, he is a lap down. Looks like you lose about a lap and a half based on where he pitted and where he's out, as right now leaders just crossed the start-finish line. So right now Charles Teed showing in the 15th position. But let's say the important thing too is the fact we mentioned Charles Johnson right now. He's in that lucky dog position should a caution come out. So right now Charles Teed, he needs this thing to go green through the pit stop cycle, Steve.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to hope that it does, because I would like to see this strategy give him a chance to race for the win.
I just want to see also how it plays out, the pitting early, pitting late, because he pitted there from third spot. So what does that how does that work for him versus Nick DeGroot? So I would say I'm waiting for him to get his first up to speed lap to kind of look at lap times between himself and Nick DeGroot. So I think he just finished
pitting. He's pitting.
Yep, here comes our leader hitting pit road. So he didn't wait too long. Also looks like a great pit stop for him. I said that was pretty dicey. A lot of cars around him there, but able to get through cleanly. So Nick not waiting too long there, Steve. And I was about to mention that last pit lap speed for Charles Teed was pretty good there, 25:41. So I really want to see now where these guys kind of come out in relation to each other. So we got Craig Forsyth now leading here. And then second, third, we got Michael Spell, David Payton side by side. And I said, actually, that does seem about right for the pit window for DeGroot there, just, again, leading so many laps here. So what I'm going to do while we watch the leaders here, we're going to jump back to Charles Teed. We're going to see where does he come out in relation to Nick. And it looks like Nick's had a really good pit stop there, but again, has to get all the way through here, through the apron to get fully up to speed. Now emerges out on the track. And actually, Charles Teed just now going through turns 2, so Nick DeGroot going to come out with a decent sized lead. However, we got busy pit road, Steve. We got Craig Forsyth, David Payton, Gary Corley. They're all hitting pit road, which is going to now put Michael Spell to the point. And I think we might be seeing Michael in this time as well. Watching that 88 car. Oh, a little bobble. He's going to catch it though. And yeah, here comes Michael Spell. He hits pit road along with Todd Merkel and Alec Coates. And that's going to put now Joseph Morales to the point. And do need to mention, with all these pit stops, that's actually moved the 9 of Charles Johnson now tail end of the lead lap, Steve. So say that Lucky Dog battle right now, as it sits, I believe it is the the 89 car of Nick DeGroot that is in that Lucky Dog position.
So meanwhile, we've got, I'm showing Joseph Morales as the leader, James Ledford in second, Matt Wagner just making a pass by James Ledford so he just went into second and Ledford's in third.
Yeah, Matt's been making some big numbers. I'm wondering right now, is James Ledford, I think Craig Forsyth, a lot of damage to the 27 car. He's down on the apron trying to limp it to the pits, but unfortunately, something happened to Craig during that pit stop cycle. I think maybe looped it on pit exit. Joseph Morales, he hits pit road. Once we complete the cycle, we'll go ahead and check to see where everybody is. But yeah, right now, Matt Wagner, he leads here as we're at 22 to go. And right now, we've only got 5 cars on the lead lap here, Steve. So I say if you're Matt Wagner, I think right now you are really rooting for a caution flag. And I say, but we'll have to see how far can Matt go. Again, we mentioned he was one of those that topped off on the 1 to go. But then we still have James Ledford. He was with this lead pack this whole time. And I think James is really just conserving fuel really well here in the 48 car. Hasn't been really pushing hard. So I think he's going to be maybe even able to stretch even further than Matt Wagner, even with that topping off.
Oh, and I was wrong before. It was Eric Schaus that Matt Wagner's been going back and forth with. So James Ledford is... Where is James Ledford?
He's sitting in third right now. He's right at the back of this group here. But I think he's on his own little strategy here, Steve. I think he is just really kind of trying to sip fuel right now in that 48 car and maybe just trying to stretch it as far as possible right now. So I say we're going to keep watching this group up front right now because right now it's Matt Wagner leading the way. I say got a little bit of everything going on. Actually, as I said, here comes Matt Wagner now. He brings in with him, I believe that is Eric Schaus. So that's going to now cycle Jari Brupacher to the point. And I say you see Jim Brooks, he's able to get one of his laps back as he gets around that number 49 car. And they say next car in line trying to do the same, I believe, is Mike Rigney there. If I'm not mistaken. No, it's not Mike Rigney. Who is that? Kurt Rose. Yeah, Kurt Rose, apologies. In the 61, trying to see if he can get a lap back. And James Ledford, though, here he now hits pit road, Steve, at 18 to go. Jari Brupacher, though, he is making some big field numbers in that 49 car. So he last pit at lap 56, and we are now currently at 18 to go.
So I would predict he'll be pitting very soon.
I believe so as well, and it is... Right now he stays out. He is really stretching his field numbers. But say, do need to mention, I believe Craig's back out on track. Yes, he is in the 27 car, but he's lost a ton of spots, unfortunately, from that incident. So right now we stay with our race leader here. Because once we switch back here, Steve, there's going to be a big gap here between our race leader and second place. So but we want to wait to kind of be able to kind of complete the cycle here through. And actually, as I said, here comes Yari now, and he's going to hit pit road. So we're going to switch over to who's going to become our race leader here, and that is Nick DeGroot. But if you look out the back wing of this 89 car, Steve, you do not see anybody here. He has a monster gap right now over what's going to become second place Charles Teed. Well, I'll say whatever Nick DeGroot did on his pit entry and out lap, I mean, it was a money stop there for him.
Yeah, that's amazing, because they were running so close together before, but it could be that Charles Teed running by himself after he came out of the pits was just not able to put down the kind of laps that that Nick DeGroot was running with the pack of cars.
It's possible, but so you have Nick DeGroot out kind of now, a nice little Tuesday afternoon drive here, but you have to go about 4 seconds back, Steve, to Charles Teed, who's, I say, he's just leading this hornet's nest behind him. You've got Todd Merkel right to his outside, then you've got Michael Spell, David Payton's right there, Gary Corley, Matt Wagner's been able to regroup and join this group as well. Alec Coates is right there as well. So I mean, you've got second through about 8th right here in this pack, as we are at 15 to go here. But again, you jump up 4 seconds, and you got Nick DeGroot just right now, just a nice little leisurely cruise here at about 220 miles an hour.
Will it last? I mean, he was 0.2 of a second slower that last lap than Charles Teed was. So
yeah, it's last time about 0.3 of a second, Steve. 25.19 to a 24.92. So yeah, just about 0.3 for Charles. So that 4 second leads dropped to about 3.8. So yeah, just is it enough time for them to get to them? But so I think the bigger concern for him is going to be, do they make it close enough? Let's say if they can get to about 4 to go, I think at that point he's good to go. Probably finishes under yellow. But I mean, if we get a caution, it's going to be another kind of chaotic restart. But he's going to have control of the start. He's going to have the inside line, so I think he'll be in a good spot. But just, yeah, that's an amazing stop, though, by that number 89 car.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's put everybody else to shame right now.
Yeah, so I think there's going to be a lot of drivers looking back at that pit stop and see what did he do different to be able to be so quick. And it wasn't, I mean, I look at the pit stop time. It was 8.22 seconds for Nick, 8.25 for Charles Teed. So not a big difference there. Even in the pit lane, Nick had a great pit lane time. It was 37.48 to Charles's 38.27. So about 0.8 of a second there. But again, I mean, that's not 4 seconds difference there. I mean, so I think Nick's outlap, maybe getting through the apron there through 1 and 2, I mean, that might be where he really put some big numbers on. And I do need to mention, we were talking about the lap times. Nick's actually stretched it out just a little bit that last time by. So we're going to say not a knock to Nick here, but we're going to watch this battle from second on back, because these guys they're going at it here.
Yeah, definitely. And it's probably going to end up being, this will be a fight for whoever finishes behind Charles Teed, because he's effectively the leader of this pack, and it's so hard to pass the person that's leading a pack that I think the guys behind him are just racing each other to see who gets third.
That's actually a really, really good point. I didn't even think about that, Steve. Saying right now, I mean, that 5 car, he's got nothing in front of him until he gets to that 89 of Nick DeGroot, which he'd love to do. But again, I mean, Nick's just running just perfect laps right now. So, yeah, so the question is going to be, right now, I think the big battle is going to be for that third spot, because we've seen the inside lines really able to hug the bottom well. The only difference, though, this time is the fact that Charles Teed is on older tires than the guys around him, so we'll see if that makes enough of a difference. Say Matt Wagner, he pitted about 12 laps later, so we'll have to wait and see. But I do see, oh no, okay, we're good. I was about to mention, I do see a car stopped on track, but it looks like he was able to jump to the pit, so we stay under green here as we've got 8 laps remaining.
And this is amazing. I mean, is Nick DeGroot running?
David Payton, I think, got put up into the wall. Yeah, heavy contact for him. We're going to go back and see what happened to David here real quick here. You see David there in the 38 car running the top groove. I'm not sure who he had contact with. It may have been Gary Corley, but unfortunately that's going to put David in a bad spot here. So we watch him through 3 and 4. And yeah, I think Gary Corley just got the dirty air from the back of, I believe that was Matt Wagner. So we'll jump back live, but unfortunately it's going to put David here in a bad spot, just trying to limp that car to the pits, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame. Looks like Gary just kind of pushed up there.
Yeah, I think he just caught that arrow wash. Oh, almost got a little bit more arrow wash this time. Almost caught Michael Spell there. But yeah, it's starting to pick up a little bit here. You see now it's right now Matt Wagner and the two of Todd Merkel. They're fighting for that third spot. The leaders just crossed line. 5 to go here at Las Vegas. And say right now it's Nick DeGroot getting by. Now stretch out to about 5 seconds, Steve, over Charles Teed. And then and Charles trying to hold off this hungry pack of drivers behind him. Right now Matt Wagner and the 2 car of Todd Merkel fighting hard for that third position.
Yep, and Nick DeGroot has some people to catch some air off of right now. But he's running 24.8, 24.6. Just amazing.
Yeah, his lap times are impressive right now. Like I said, he had a little bit of draft, I think, to help him out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I can't just speak for how impressive what he did under that pit stop cycle is. You just don't see that very often. So yeah, say that money stop, he hit it perfectly there. But so he's hoping for, well, actually, again, there are no green white checker finishes here with the Indy Series. So say at this point, he's pretty happy with where he is. However, like I said, I think these guys right now in this in the thick of this fight here, I think they want this thing to go green to have a chance to kind of. Right now, it's Matt Wagner holding solidly in third, but I think Todd Merkel and Michael Spell, they want to try to get into that position. You see Todd get a little bit of an arrow push there off of 4, able to collect it. That's going to be Michael Spell now up to 4th and right side by side with Matt Wagner for that third spot here. 2 to go.
Matt Wagner fighting really hard so he can talk to us after the race.
That's right. You know how much Matt wants to talk to you, Steve. I know it's not me. I know it's all about you. However, we're going to jump real quick here because it's hard to do that. I wish I had a split screen we could do, Steve. But our race leader, Nick DeGroot, he just took the white flag. So we've got 1 to go here at Las Vegas. I said we're going to jump back, though. Watch this battle for second on back right now. Charles Teed holding solid, Steve. Oh, contact in the back. I think Gary Corley may have caught the 88 of Michael Spell. They go around. And I think that's going to put Matt Wagner here in a potentially really good spot here. Because it looks like everybody else had to fall back a little bit. So at the line, though, it's going to be Nick DeGroot getting the win. We got a battle here for the second spot, though. Matt Wagner trying to get Charles Teed there for a second. I think Charles just going to hang on to it. Gary Corley going to bring it home in 4th. Todd Merkel in 5th. And then 6th, you've got Jeff Heisong. 7th, Yari Brupacher. And then 8th is going to be James Ledford.
Whew, that was
something.
Yeah.
However, I think the happy man is going to be right here. That 89 of Nick DeGroot just put a beating on tonight.
Yeah, it was just a Sunday drive for him the last 15 or 20 laps.
Yeah, that it was. But I mean, just hats off again. Well, definitely that's going to definitely be something we're going to be talking to him about tonight after his interview. So I'll say before we get to the interviews, though, we'll pull up our final results for the event. And it is Nick DeGroot winning by about 5.7 seconds over Charles Teed. Matt Wagner 3rd. You got Gary Corley 4th. Todd Merkel in 5th. As we mentioned, Jeff Heisong, Yari Brupacher, James Ledford rounding out our lead lap finishers. And then, unfortunately, even with the contact, Michael Spell does still get a top 10 in 9th. Alec Coates in 10th. And 11th through 18th, you've got Kurt Rose, Charles Johnson, Bud Steele, Eric Schaus, Jack Walls, Jim Brooks, Craig Forsyth, and John Brill. And unfortunately, a few drivers that did not have the nights they were looking for fall a little bit further down the pack than they wanted to, including Joseph Morales there, David Payton in 20th, Joseph DeCiro, David Leclair, Mike Rigney, and Anders Arhus. All right, Steve. Now let's go find some victims here to have some chats with.
Okay, let's do that.
And we are going to start with our third place finisher of Matt Wagner. All right, so let's go ahead and bring Matt in here. Say it was just a couple, probably thousands, maybe hundreds of a second between himself and Charles Teed there at the end, at the line there. But I'd say, unfortunately, I like the strategy Steve and I did on the topping off at that last yellow, but unfortunately, just the way it panned out, you kind of got caught up in traffic, weren't able to find your way back towards in the lead pack there, got separated from him. I'd say at that point, did you feel like you're kind of just in kind of recovery mode at that point.
Yeah, especially that last restart. I'm guessing a couple of cars that were ahead of us never went, and we lost about 3, 4 seconds off the leader, and then that was terrible. And then me and Shao decided to swap draft toward the end of the run, and we wish we would have done it sooner. And that's the only thing I'm probably kicking myself.
Yeah, because I say it was. We were noticing lap times were very, very similar, but then the one big thing was, like you said, the leader could really hold the inside line, kind of just control the pace of the guys behind him. But then from pretty much that third car on back, I mean, it was pretty much a full on brawl basically. I mean, I say, how much time were you able to gain when you had maybe a couple guys working together, kind of doing that leapfrog approach?
Um, we gained about 2.5 seconds in a matter of 7 laps, and like I said, we wish we would have done it sooner.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big number, but I mean, still, again, a good recovery. Say, like I said, kind of pulled the strategy. Didn't quite pan out the way you wanted to, of course, but we were joking there towards the end. That say the main goal, of course, for you is to try to hold that third spot so you get a chance to talk to Steve. So, I mean, good job to get back up there because again, I mean, you had to gain a ton of time through that pit stop cycle to even get in contention there.
Yeah, we missed you, Steve. We missed you last week, brother.
I wasn't. I was here last week. It was the week before that
The
I
week
missed,
before,
right?
I
Yes.
know I felt empty.
Well, I always miss you when I don't get to make it here either, Matt.
Yeah, but overall, it was a pretty good race. My whole strategy was to just chill out and just mellow on and let the race play out the way it was. And end up in third spot at the end. One thing I wish though, I probably would have had a shot at Nick if we were closer to the leaders because at the end we were 4 seconds.
Yeah, we were watching that, and you guys
behind,
kept losing time, which was amazing.
behind him. Yeah, we were 4 seconds behind him, and
Mm-hmm.
then before the pit stop we were 7 seconds. So that's a bit of a heartbreak there.
You were 7 seconds behind, but I was watching Charles Teed, and he was, I think, at 1.4 seconds behind, but then he started. I think he felt all the way like 5.5 seconds behind.
Yeah, Nick had cars to draft with the lap cars, and that really helped him.
I know. Yeah, I was just watching some of his laps, and he was running by himself. He was running 25.1s, which is still pretty impressive. But yeah, when he had cars to draft up on and pass, he was doing 24.6, 24.7.
Yeah, but I'm happy the way the race turned out. Third place will stop the bleeding after the past couple of races that I've been in, and pretty proud.
Well, you were so far back at one point, and when you took that last pit stop to top off, I thought, that's a good idea because you're already almost as far back as you could possibly be. You may as well get the extra fuel so that you can push it as hard as you want,
Hmm.
and it worked out.
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty proud, pretty happy.
Well, we're certainly happy to see you up here speaking with us again.
Thanks, you guys, for having me.
Yeah, it was definitely a great run. I'm saying weren't quite the highest climber time. I mean, you did gain 10 spots, and saying that's to get all the way up to third. So I mean, a job well done there as well. But yeah, like I said, definitely a hard fought one for you. A little bit of a recovery drive, I guess you could say as well. Kind of been your theme of the season, it feels like. But so definitely want to give you the floor though here before we let you go here with that third place.
Well, I really hope my parents' drive to Florida was all right. They have yet to text me, which will be very soon. Um, HyperX, LMC Gear, Troy Lee Designs, the Dark Horse Racing Team, and of course Area 51. Um, guys, thank you so much. Without these guys, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we able to race. So appreciate it. You all have a great night.
You too, Matt. Good run.
Yep. Later, dude.
All right. So we're going to switch from third place Matt Wagner to second place Charles Teed in that number 5 machine. So go ahead and pull up that number 5 machine now. And Steve, I don't know. I think I'm gonna make you be the underwear question asker on this week. But I'll say so for me, Charles, on Wednesday with Dark Horse. To say I went with fuel strategy that was able to gain me some great track position, give me a good finish. Say it looks like that luck kind of ran around over here to you tonight. Say you were one of those drivers that was way off strategy. Pitting about I think about 12 laps earlier than those guys. But say the cautions fellow, we knew how well you were able to save fuel there. Steve and I were talking about that from the get go, kind of the strategy you had. But I mean, you worked the number and then some to make sure you were good to go to the end there. So I'm sure it feels good to kind of get the result you're looking for with having to kind of save as aggressively as you had to there.
Yeah, well, so the first half of the race didn't go at all how I wanted, so I fell back saving fuel right from the first lap, and that kind of put me behind the 8 ball because I ended up pitting when everyone else did, so it really didn't allow me to get advantage. So I had to do something to get back around 10 or 12 cars there. So I went way off strategy, and then, I don't know if I had anything for Nick at all. It's so hard to pass, but I made a big mistake after doing a really good pit stop and able to run wide open till the end in map 1. I forgot and left it in map 5 for about 4 or 5 laps, and he came out and he had a tow right out of the pits. So between those two things, I was pretty much locked into third until Craig had his incident. So yeah, I haven't talked to you guys in some time. Finished second in the points last year, but I don't think I talked to you guys after about mid-season on. So it's good to get back up here on the podium. It's always nice to finish second to Nickel. I mean, that guy's just unbelievable. And unfortunate for Craig. Good job for Matt to get there. And it was a fun race. It was just tough to pass around the outside.
You answered the question I was going to ask because you had lost so much time to him. And I wondered why your laps were so much slower than his. I went back and was watching, and I think you were more like 24.3, 24.4. And when he was by himself, he was running 24.1s. And then, of course, with the draft, he had some 24.6 and 7s.
Yep. Yeah, that doomed me. It's just unfortunate. But you know what? Like, Nick had the pole. I didn't have I didn't want the pole. I was trying to sandbag to get third to just start in behind. I thought we are going to have green flag stops, and saving fuel to get 2 extra laps allowed you to do it in 2 stops. So I was always just trying to get to the 2-stop strategy. And very fortunate considering the first half of the race didn't go at all like I had planned. So it was a lot of fun. Nick's a monster out here.
Yes.
This is pretty much a W getting second to Nick anytime.
But this isn't one where you have to keep wearing the underwear, so you still have to win for that one.
Yeah, so I just have not worn underwear. I'm in Southern California, so it's just so blazing hot. So at some point, we'll paint some on and we'll let you guys. We'll do a photo shoot for you guys. But no, we're the underwear game doesn't start till we get a win again.
That would make for an Area 51 calendar, right?
I was about to say the same thing. I'm afraid of the calendar approaches here. Yeah, so
yes.
We'll work on the pre-sales. We'll let you know if we get some interest after. I have a feeling our YouTube's going to start blowing up with some pre-orders for your Charles.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet. It's I'm going to start an OnlyFans. Shouts and I were talking about that earlier about how to get some side business going. So we'll get that rolling for everybody.
A little bit of everything here, but and I was saying the other thing too, though, there's one other strategy point during the race. Obviously, you talked about that 2-stopper that you were looking at, but then I think it was you and Matt Wagner. You guys, I was doing the math.
Flashed.
We were talking about the 1-stop strategy there once that yellow came out. Before we were talking about lap 37. And then that caution came out, and so we did a quick crunch of the numbers and said, okay, if they can go 38 laps, then they could do a 1-stopper from there.
Yep.
Obviously, the caution's going to fall for that, but how feasible did it feel like that was going to be for you guys if things kind of just played out perfectly?
I could do 37 on max save, so I wanted to have that as an option. And that's why we did the splash. So I just it would have had to fall again just perfect, but I was already back mid-pack, so I was like, let's take the half a gallon of fuel or 2. I think it was closer to a gallon because I had already pitted, so I was just back in for a splash. It was really just to give me the opportunity, should a yellow come out, to trap the field, or possibly to make it on one more. So until the last 15, 20 laps, I was in map 5 virtually the whole race. So it was really just about saving fuel.
Yeah, it's obviously a tough way to have to run kind of full strategy throughout the race. But
Yeah.
I mean, you've been burned so many times. I think you just got to make your bed. You got to lay in it. But I'll say just an awesome job tonight to get that result you were looking for. And like you said, Nick was just a beast tonight. Yeah,
I had to thank Henry because Henry. Oh, I ran an 8,500 race this weekend. He started showing me how he calculates. All these guys are wicked smart on top of it, and I'm a meathead. So now I have a notepad helping me with the math because Peterson won't come in here and help me be my crew chief. So I have to figure out the math while driving an IndyCar at 220 miles an hour under green the entire time. I don't know how these nerds do this, but it is overwhelmingly difficult for me. So I did all the math prior to take really the thinking out of it and just be able to drive. So that definitely helped me.
So when you say doing the math, are you actually like doing it for each different fuel mapping so that you know which one to pick?
Yes. And my overlay tracks both, so you can flip during the race to see what strategy you want to go after. These guys are ridiculous. Like it's racing on the level of what they do on Sundays with the math, and it's one person usually doing it themselves. Craig is phenomenal at it. You know, we have Van Desant. Those guys are just unbelievably good at the math, and I am not. So I've always just run hard, and this season I have been hit by more shitty luck from from running out of fuel with 2 to go and things like that, being in great position to win. So it's definitely made me add a new part to the game to race with these boys.
Yeah, I mean that's like you said. I mean that's pretty wild. So I'm gonna put a sales pitch out there for you, Charles. So anybody that maybe wants free OnlyFans membership, the only requirement is you sign up to be his crew chief to work some field numbers, and I'm sure you guys can make something happen between there. So you can find him at Dark Horse Area 51. So he'll be available. Don't you worry.
Absolutely, we're looking for a crew chief that would do this. I don't know how people do it.
Well,
it's a massive help.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I've had a few times where I've had kind of the brains behind me to kind of work me through numbers and stuff. It's a huge benefit. And it's always nice to have someone else to talk to other than the voices in your head as well. So that goes a long way as well.
Absolutely, boys. Thank you guys. You guys do such a good broadcast. You guys are here every week and crack me up, even though I haven't been on here in a while. It's always fun to listen to after the race. And hopefully after missing a race, I had to miss a race earlier this season. My sister passed away and had to attend a funeral. So we're trying to sneak back up into the points here and make the playoffs and see if we can do something with them, because the race is the end of the year. I really love those tracks, so really looking forward to a neutralizer.
Yeah,
we're glad.
Yeah, we're definitely rooting for you, Charles. Sorry, Steve, I'll let you go ahead there.
Yeah, I was going to say we're glad to have you back up here talking to us again and being competitive, and my condolences on your sister.
Thank you. Wonderful gal. This one's for her.
I'll say look forward to seeing you next week, Charles. I'll say obviously I'll see you tomorrow. Not everybody gets the honor of that though. So enjoy this one and look forward to catching you again here soon, sir.
Yep, we got to get Steve running over in Dark Horse too.
I'll start working them.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
All right, take care, sir.
Yep, great run.
All right, that leaves one person. So we're making him have to sweat it out here, get that interview with us, because I'll say he put the beat down on the field here tonight, and that is our race winner in that number 89. It's not showing the right car. Oh, I know why. Apologies for that. They were showing the wrong car file there. But we're going to pull in our race winner in that number 89 of Nick DeGroot. Pole sitter, led plenty of laps there. And man, I'll say, I think the biggest thing for us tonight, that last pit stop, I mean, that was a beating there that you were able to do. I say we were looking at the numbers. The pit time looked pretty equal. The pit lane time looked pretty equal. But I mean, you were able to stretch that lead out there. And I mean, just take us through. Was that just kind of full send on the outlap there to get up to speed to the backstretch, or what were we able to do to build such a gap?
The magic bullet there was, I forget his name, but there was a lapper that was going by all by himself, and I just happened to catch his draft, and I mean just barely. I was like 1.6 seconds behind him, and the delta's like 1.8 for catching the draft, and he just towed me around the track, and I had 2 extremely fast laps, so by the time they pitted, I was gone. So that was, I'd like to say I planned that, but that was pure luck, honestly. I caught that lapper, and he pulled me right around the track, and the draft is absolutely huge here. And even better, when I finally got to him, he just gave me the bottom. So that was really cool of him.
Yeah, so you gotta love when a plan comes together just the way you drew it up, I'm sure. But I mean, obviously, it showed tonight. I mean, obviously, you needed to kind of protect that inside line, and we were mentioning during the broadcast. There's kind of the two trains of thought of that is going to be some of those trying to steal the toe off you, save the fuel, and not have to worry about the field numbers. If of course the race panned out that way. But then of course you kind of be able to set the pace, keep your tires nice and happy, and then protect that inside line. Was that something you were at all worried about? Was depending on how the field numbers were going to run out, or were you feeling just kind of track position was going to be king and just kind of let the numbers kind of fall as they will?
There was a point when I was hoping, I'm like, okay, let's not get an odd caution here at a weird time, because that would really catch me out. And when you have that lead, especially here, you just do not want to let go of it. And it's so powerful that before that race, I was like, if I get the pole, this is what I'm going to do. But if I qualify second on back, I'm going to do a completely different strategy. You're not going to see me for half of the race. So it's that powerful. And to have that lead for most of the race really made things a lot easier for me. And I had some cool guys behind me for the most part that were just driving a smart race too. So I didn't really have to worry about any contact or anything like that. It was just eyes forward, full throttle, and hope the cautions fall the way they did. So I'd like to say I just... I had it all planned out, but a lot of luck too with that lapper, with the way the cautions fell, with all that. So it worked out, and it's good when it works out. It's, I had some bad luck in Kentucky, so it came back this week.
Yeah, definitely made up for it. I was going to say those last 15 laps. Yeah, I'm guessing you didn't feel too much pressure.
I was just counting them down, 15, 14, so on and so forth. I'm like, please no yellow, please no yellow.
Yes.
With how it's just one massive pack race to because I never expected to finish like that. So at the end there, when I have that lead, I'm like, please don't make me give this up. Please don't make me race at the end. Just let me have this. So it was I'm sure it wasn't great for the people watching, but it was nice for me to just be able to kind of cruise to the checkered flag there, as I fully expected this to be a dogfight to the very end.
Were you surprised that the outside lane wasn't able to work better than it did?
I was not surprised that you couldn't pass the leader. I was surprised, though, that if you hung back and got a really big run, it still wasn't quite enough. I don't know if we needed a taller sixth gear or what, but you couldn't do it. You could maybe get the nose in front of the leader, but you weren't going to clear him unless he bobbled or lifted. So, yeah, the outside was not very powerful at all. The inside was really OP, especially if you're out leading. And even behind the leader, you just hold that bottom and you can kind of just chill there and nobody's going to be clearing you. So it was that kind of race, but it was still an exciting race from what I saw in my rearview mirror. There was lots of action, lots of people dicing it up. Glad I got to watch it from that vantage point, though.
Yeah, I could understand that. It was definitely exciting for us too, and there was a lot of different strategies and interesting stuff that people were doing back behind you too.
Oh yeah, and the big thing in that, what was it? Early pit stop, Matt Wagner, he came out in front of me because he had some issue on pit road. But initially I thought, oh, maybe he didn't take tires. And I looked and I saw that my tires, because I was out leading, were still up in the 90 percentage. And turns out he had a different issue. But it still made me think, hey, that's something to keep in my back pocket later. And it was the second to last pit stop when we came down pit road. I took no tires, and it didn't really affect me at all. And I was just cruising behind Bud Steele for a bunch of laps, and yeah, I had two full runs on that set of tires. So tires really weren't that much of an issue either, especially if you were out front.
On your last pit stop, did you take tires?
Oh yeah, I took tires for the last one. I was too scared of that exit area.
Okay.
Leaving the pit lane, it was really sketchy, as we saw it caught Craig out, which is really unfortunate. So yeah, I wanted to have 4 fresh ones for that.
Yeah, that was a shame because Craig was running with you that whole time.
Yeah, I was. And I think what happened was he saw me exiting turn 2 and he kind of just goosed it instinctively, and it was on that unbalanced apron, and it sent him, which is really sucks because he should have been right up there battling for the win, at the very least getting a podium.
I know how that feels because I did that I think my second to last race, and I almost had it saved. I think we were in Atlanta, and the car started going for the inside wall, and I just overcorrected and right into the outside wall.
Yeah, there's really no winning in that situation. It's like pick which wall you want to hit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, these cars are definitely tough to catch when they step out on you. But yeah, just an awesome job though tonight, Nick. Like I said, like you said, that gap you pulled on those guys. I mean, that was very impressive. So that was the first thing Steve and I were looking at. I was like, man, we're like, okay, we'll see where he cycles out. And I mean, we talked to Charles. Sounds like a bit of a miscue on the fuel mapping on his part cost him a little bit. But yeah, I think just kind of the combo, everything you were able to do, and of course catching a little bit of a break with that draft. I mean, but I say you were definitely out front controlling this one tonight. So congrats though, pulling off getting that victory here tonight. But definitely wanted to give you the floor though for some thanks and shouts for pulling off the win tonight.
Yeah, Factory Back Motorsports as always gave me an awesome race car, and I'm excited to announce that my teammate Covey Moore, who made a one-off start earlier this year at Mosport, will be back for the road course, the Daytona road course, and he got a podium there, so hopefully he can double down. So we're going to bring in 2 cars next week, which will be really exciting. And yeah, Cowboy Shit, CoveyMoore.com, Wegmans, Motorsport.com, BlazePod, U-Haul, the Ty Posabon Foundation, all the great sponsors that back us, and hopefully we can get them back up front next week for a road course.
Yeah, so you're right, Covey. Definitely a ringer to watch out for next week for sure. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. But I'll say make sure you don't let him beat up on you too much. Though, you got the season points battle to be going after there.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason we're bringing him in. He's faster than me on the road courses. So need somebody up there.
So he can make your life difficult for some of your competition maybe then. But yeah, just
exactly.
Awesome job though tonight, Nick. That was a great performance from you. So yeah, enjoy this one for sure. I look forward to catching you next week, and of course on my end, look forward to race with you tomorrow. So enjoy this one, and we'll see you again here soon, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Great run.
All right, Steve, that is our race winner tonight in that number 89, Nick DeGroot. Like I said, just a great performance, pretty dominant performance, I'll say, but I mean, it all boils down to he got that money lap on qualifying when it counted, and then from there just was able to control the race, control everything. Like he said, he did mention cautions to some extent did fall his way a little bit to help him out, but so you got to still put yourself in that position and do everything else right to get there. So definitely not one. So you can't give it all to luck on that one. He did an awesome job this evening.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, his strategy was golden, and things just broke his way, and he did a fantastic job driving tonight, especially that last pit stop. Impressive as hell.
Yeah, that was a very, very impressive pit stop, like you said, be able to build the gap he did. And so, it sounds like forced some other drivers into mistakes, unfortunately, too. Like I say, unfortunately, I was able to pull the replay up on that, but yeah, I mean, he mentioned it and saying it was kind of what we expected. Unfortunately for Craig, just a little too ambitious, possibly on the throttle, getting out of the pits there, out of turn 2, and say these cars, they, like he mentioned, they do not like having that banking transition. So unfortunately, caught him out a little bit, cost him definitely a great finish tonight, but we'll be definitely seeing more of that 27 car the rest of the season.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Craig has been strong pretty much everywhere this season.
And so yeah, like you mentioned, next week we're going to be turning left and right, and it's going to be at the Daytona Road Course. I'm sure lots of drivers plenty of experience of that one with the sports cars. We'll have to see how much experience they've got with these Indy cars, because I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Because I mean, that's going to be a track. I mean, again, we talked about the draft, like he mentioned, 1.8 or so seconds you pull the toe from those guys in front of you. So I mean, if you get through the infield and you get that draft, I mean, you're going to have a lot of draft through the backstretch, and then of course once you clear the bus stop, same thing through NASCAR 3 and 4 back into turn number 1. So I think this one's going to be a very interesting one. Our drivers are going to use a little strategy to figure out where they want to position their cars to take advantage of those drafts, especially in those closing laps. So I think this one's going to be really exciting next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys run on there.
Steve, as always, love having you in here with me. I was saying obviously the drivers do too, so it's always a pleasure, sir. Looking forward to next week with you. But yeah, I'll say that was an exciting one, and I think we're going to be having even more fun next week over at Daytona.
No doubt. And as always, I love doing this with you, Gael, and look forward to next week.
All right, for everybody watching, thank you so much for watching us, supporting us. As always, we mentioned, so you always find us on YouTube on Green White Checkered TV. And of course, we mentioned with Area 51 Dark Horse partnership with ESTV. You can find them on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Say they even will stream to your Roku devices, so you can find those re-airs as well if you ever want to watch it on the big screen. Really cool of ESTV and everybody kind of working with them over there. It's been a lot of fun to do that as well. So hope you all had enjoyed tonight. And as always, have a wonderful evening. We'll be back on Thursday for the premiere series at Daytona Road Course. with full body stock cars. So it's going to be a little more of a handful for those boys, but it's going to be a lot of fun as well. So until then, have a wonderful evening and have a good night, and we'll see you on Thursday. Take care, everybody.
Night, everyone.